Well, it's been a little over a week now, and big surprise, the finale to Peacemaker is actually pretty good. Now, I'm going to try and keep this video as short as possible because I feel like a lot of what makes this show good are things that people have already talked about, but I felt the need to review this show because I think I might actually be its biggest fan. I'd like to start off by saying that just like a lot of people, I didn't think this show was going to work. I really liked Peacemaker's character in the Suicide Squad, but I felt that he worked so well because he was a side character accompanying a larger cast. But after the first few episodes, it's made very clear to the audience that this character possesses a lot more depth and over the span of the show is going to have a real arc. Now, it goes without saying that this video will have spoilers, so you have been warned. The thing I'd like to praise the most about this show is definitely comedy. Now, I know comedy is subjective, everyone has different views on it, of what's funny and what isn't funny, so I really can't say that it'll work for you. The show really works for me in the area of comedy because it's very conversational. Now, unlike Marvel or DC movies, they're not just quippy one-liners. My favorite jokes in this show come from the interactions between the characters. Now, there's so many conversations that just feel like conversations that aren't related to the plot at all. It's just the characters sitting around and having a goofy conversation. Out of the whole show, I think my favorite joke is still the interaction that Peacemaker has with the janitor. It does a perfect job at setting the tone of the entire show. This is not a large-scale team-up movie. It is very much a side story. It's revealed to us that Peacemaker isn't some famous household name that everyone knows like Superman or Batman in this universe. He's just a mercenary with a silly outfit and a catchphrase. The show does a great job at balancing tone because it's not even 10 minutes after this interaction that we get to see how Peacemaker feels about himself and how our perception of him up until this point is very two-dimensional. Now, obviously, the show is called Peacemaker, and therefore the entire show is supposed to be about diving deeper into his character. I think what I like the most about this character in this show is that he's not some far-fetched character we haven't met before. His entire arc stems directly from the events of the Suicide Squad. The show is very well written, and I have to give credit to James Gunn because I really think he's doing something special with the superhero genre, and I really feel like he's leading DC into a brighter future. The show has some very interesting characters that all play off each other really well. The cast is great. For me, the two people who stood out the most were Vigilante and Harcourt, but nonetheless, I'm very impressed with John Cena because I really think he is improving as an actor. I still think he has a long way to go, but I will admit, I do think his performance is actually getting better over time. I think for the most part that everyone is given something to do, and they each have their own personalities, which is nice. The action in the show is also really damn good, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't one of my more favorited things about the show. I don't have too many complaints about the show. For one, I think some of the jokes go on for a little too long, and there was a couple character flaws that I found, but it's not really anything major. This is going to seem like a hot take, but for right now, I think this had to be my favorite superhero show to come out recently. The only thing I can think of that's close to it is Loki, but I still feel the same about that. And yes, the opening is really, really damn good. I could talk about this opening for ages, but I really don't think I have to. Everyone already knows how great it is. It's funny as hell. It is so ambitious, and it's just the kind of thing that I wish more shows would do, more shows and movies for that matter. Just embrace the goofiness and just try and be creative with what you have. I think that's the most important part about it. But yeah, I really have to praise the soundtrack as well. It's introduced me to a new genre of music that, to be honest, I don't really dive into 80s glam metal all that much. I really don't. So it's always nice to have new things to add to the playlist that I haven't actually heard before. And I think it's actually utilized very well in showing off the tone of the actual show itself. The show, it just feels so fresh. It's like a breath of fresh air, and it's just different from all of the other shows that have come out recently. The show is engaging, it's funny, and overall, I just can't help but have a fun time watching it. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but it's pretty damn good. It's got a good story, compelling characters, exciting action, and some pretty witty dialogue, so I think I'm going to give the show about an 8 out of 10. My original score was 7.5, but I don't know, I guess I'm feeling generous today. So if you haven't already seen the show, then I'd recommend you do so. I think it's a lot of fun. I think you'll benefit from watching the Suicide Squad first if you haven't seen it, but everybody has already talked about how good that is. Anyway, that's all for me. I'm planning on making a video next week on my thoughts for the MCU and where the Doctor Strange is going to be taking it, but I'm going to be totally honest and say that I'm probably only going to be thinking about the Batman all week. I'm really excited to go see it this Thursday, and I'll most definitely be making a video on it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one.